For centuries, knights dominated the medieval battlefield, clad in shining armor and riding powerful war horses. They were the ultimate warriors, like medieval tanks thundering across Europe. Their charge was often unstoppable, breaking enemy lines with terrifying force. Victory often belonged to the side with the most or the best knights. Their armor offered fantastic protection, and their specially bred horses gave them speed and momentum. Knights began training as young boys, learning to ride and fight with lance and sword. Only the wealthy nobility could afford the armor, the war horse, and the years of training. Knighthood was a mark of high status, tied to land ownership and feudal obligations. Common soldiers were often seen as secondary to the clash of knights. For a long time, the knightly way of war seemed set in stone. Their power appeared almost absolute on the battlefield. The idea that simple foot soldiers could challenge these mounted champions seemed almost unthinkable. Now let's travel to the heart of Europe, to the rugged, mountainous lands of Switzerland. The people here were mostly farmers and herdsmen, living in small communities in the Alps. They were common people, fiercely protective of their lands and way of life. The Swiss couldn't rely on knights due to their challenging terrain. The narrow passes and uneven terrain were terrible for horses. Their environment naturally favored fighters on foot. The Swiss cantons didn't have the resources to field large numbers of knights. They needed a military solution that was affordable and effective. This necessity led to a remarkable military invention. The Swiss faced constant threats from powerful feudal dynasties like the Habsburgs. Determined to resist, they developed a new kind of soldier and a new way of fighting. The Swiss turned to a revolutionary weapon, the pike, a very long spear. Pikes were cheap to produce, making them ideal for the citizen soldiers of the Swiss cantons. The real genius lay in how the Swiss used it. They developed a tactical formation known as the pike square. Hundreds of men packed tightly together, creating a dense hedge of sharp steel points. This formation was incredibly difficult for cavalry to attack. Horses would not willingly charge into such a terrifying wall of spearheads. To make these pike squares work, incredible discipline and rigorous training were needed. This was about teamwork, not individual heroics. The men had to move together as one solid unit, advancing, retreating, or changing direction without breaking formation. This collective spirit was a hallmark of the Swiss fighting style. It challenged the very foundations of knightly dominance. Ordinary infantrymen, properly armed and disciplined, could stand firm against cavalry charges. The Swiss pike square showed that well-trained, motivated infantry could be a decisive force. It was a tactical innovation that shifted the balance of power on European battlefields. One of the earliest demonstrations of Swiss prowess came at the Battle of Morgarten in 1315. A small force of Swiss infantry faced a much larger army of Habsburg knights. The Swiss used their knowledge of the terrain brilliantly, ambushing the knights in a narrow pass. The knights were trapped, unable to maneuver their horses effectively. The Swiss pikes proved devastating, and the Battle of Morgarten was a stunning victory. This victory boosted Swiss confidence and their reputation. Their skills were tested during the Burgundian Wars against Charles the Bold. In battles like Grandson and Murat, the Swiss pike squares triumphed over Charles's forces. These victories demonstrated that well-trained pike infantry could overcome knightly armies. Charles the Bold was eventually killed in battle, ending his ambitious reign. The incredible victories of the Swiss sent shockwaves across Europe. The mounted knight was no longer the supreme force on the battlefield. The Swiss had shown that disciplined, well-armed infantry could dominate. Other European armies began to imitate their tactics. The era of the pike-armed infantryman dawned. Infantry tactics became more sophisticated, focusing on training and discipline. The role of cavalry began to change, no longer the undisputed masters of the battlefield. Infantry became the core of most European armies. The Swiss fundamentally changed the way wars were fought. Their courage and innovative use of the pike square demonstrated that ordinary people could overcome military elites. The Swiss mercenaries became highly sought after throughout Europe, a testament to their martial prowess.